Hey guys, my name is Gabrielle and I'm a freshman at Kingwood High School, and I'm Joseph Stanton's little sister. Joseph went to school here, I think in 1st and 2nd grade, so he was just like y'all a few years ago. So many of you guys have probably seen the Team Joseph helmets, sweatshirts, and all that stuff around Kingwood, but I'm here to tell you like the story behind it and what happens when you don't wear a helmet. So up until June 2nd, 2010, my family was just like any other ordinary family in Kingwood. My oldest sister, Madeline and Audra, were off at college. Joseph was a sophomore in high school, and I was going into the 8th grade at Riverwood Middle School. We had just attended a wedding of a close family friend on May 29th, 5 days before Joseph's accident. The whole family was dressed up, but Joseph looked the best in his new suit. Joseph had played just about every sport in Kingwood, beginning when he was just a toddler on the soccer field. He did year-round swimming at 4 years old, but he focused his high school career on football and swimming. He had just finished varsity off-season training and was in the best shape of his life. He had just led the Kingwood Park Panthers to their 2nd consecutive state swimming championship, and in 2 years, he received 5 gold medals, anchored 2 state record-setting relays, and that means that nobody in the state of Texas has ever swum a faster time than him, or his relay team. And on top of that, he has had 8 All-American honors and received 1 academic All-American award, sadly while in the intensive care unit at Memorial Hermann. We still get college letters in our mailbox every day. It was the first day of summer, and Joseph went to his first 5-hour swim practice and worked shift lifeguarding at Kingwood Country Club late that afternoon. He came home, ate dinner, and decided to take a short ride on his longboard. Before we walked outside, my mom told him, "Joseph, your football coach just took a lot of time training you in off-season football, and you promised your swim coach you'd compete at the Junior National Championships in California in July." Being Joseph, he just rolled his eyes at her, threw his head back, and closed the door behind him. And within 15 minutes, we got a phone call from the neighbors saying that they had found Joseph lying unconscious on the side of the street. When Joseph went on his longboard, there was nobody to dare him to do any of the tricks that Tony Hawk could do. Nobody ran into him, and he wasn't the kid to take a fall and not get back up. He always pushed himself no matter how bad the pain was. Joseph had played competitive football since he was 7, so a fall or two never hurt him, but this fall was just too much. When we got to the hospitals, the doctor said there was nothing they could do for him. They said to say our final goodbyes. Joseph looked like the average California surfer guy when he was laying in the hospital bed that night. His blonde hair was perfectly combed, and he was still wearing his lifeguarding tank top. And let me tell you, it's not an easy thing to do when you have to tell your brother how much you love him and that you'll never speak to him again. So Joseph lay there, with the doctors refusing to do anything for him, and his brain was swelling more and more by the minute. Just because he had simply fallen off a longboard and now he wasn't going to make it. You can watch the X Games, and some of those guys fall from up to 200 feet in the air, and they can get up and walk it off. But my brother only fell from his 6'1" height, and now he wasn't going to make it. He just hit the back of his head on the concrete, but ended up with a huge traumatic brain injury, or the shortened version that it's called by TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury. That resulted in him becoming a comatose, which is where you are in a sleeping state all day and you don't really move or do anything. He was on a respirator, a machine that blows air into your lungs to help you breathe, and just barely holding on to life. After 8 hours, the doctor finally walked into Joseph's room and said he would operate on him. He said he would perform a craniotomy on Joseph, but it wasn't likely he'd make it through the surgery. Basically, he took off half of Joseph's skull to allow the swelling in his brain to go down. We were told we were supposed to wait and see what would happen. We've almost lost him 4 or 5 different times, but Joseph has always been a fighter and is still with us. Joseph was on life support for 6.5 weeks in the NSICU, known as the Neurosurgical Intensive Care Unit. He had a respirator breathing for him, a C-collar protecting his neck from damage, and electrodes monitoring all of his vital signs. I can guarantee you this was not how Joseph was planning on spending his summer and going into his sophomore year of high school. All of this because Joseph thought he was too good to wear a helmet. He thought he was untouchable and nobody could ever bring him down. I know some of you guys are sitting in here thinking, she's just wasting my time, this will never happen to me, but honestly it can. You guys are about to go into middle school and everybody wants to fit in and try to be cool, and middle school is when all the boys start to get into biking and skateboarding too, and that's when you need helmets the most. One day you're going to do a trick that you haven't done before and miss a step and end up falling, maybe even hitting your head and ending up with a head injury like Joseph. This isn't just an accident that happens maybe once or twice ever. Since Joseph's accident, we have heard of many stories of people just falling off skateboards, longboards, bikes, horses, scooters, and even rollerblades and ending up like Joseph. As the students here on campus, younger kids look up to you. Whatever you do or say is automatically cool. Don't be the only person not wearing a helmet. You can have a big impact on the way younger kids feel about helmets. You can have a kidney transplant and a heart transplant, but you can't have a brain transplant. You only have one brain, so do the right thing and protect it. If I didn't think standing up here telling you my brother's story could make a difference, I can promise you I wouldn't be standing up here right now because I'm really scared of talking in front of people. So, helmets are cool. I wear one, my friends wear them, and my brother's friends wear them. And after hearing my brother's story, all of the Houston Rockets players wear them too. You're never too cool to wear a helmet, you're only being smart. Remind your little brother, your sisters, your parents, your friends, your aunts, your uncles, anybody and everybody. Don't let this be something that you only do for a few weeks and forget about it and move on. You always need to wear a helmet. Deciding if you're going to wear a helmet is just as important as any other big decision you'll make in your life. When you go out on a bike, skateboard, scooter, whatever you're riding, there's no guarantee you won't hit that small crack in the pavement or the rock in the road that wasn't there the last time. Never forget to put a helmet on. I want to tell you a story before I go. In Austin, Texas, there was a 16-year-old boy, and he was a very good skater and went out every day right after school to skate with his friends. Every day they rode the same ditch, something that looks like this, the same tricks, went to the same park, and came home at the same time every day. It was something the kid was very familiar with. But one day, the kid didn't come home. When he left his house to go skateboarding, it was the last time he would see his sister, the last time he would see his friends, and the last time he would talk to his parents, and the last time he would ever walk out of the front door of his house. He was skating down that same familiar drainage ditch. His friends were watching him when all of a sudden he fell. He hit his head on the concrete and was immediately knocked out. The friend had to call 911 and call his parents to tell them what happened. Life Flight was on his way to pick him up. He made it to the hospital but passed away the next morning. He was never going to walk through the front door of his house, hug his mom or dad. He was never going to walk across the stage at his high school graduation or attend college. And he was never going to have a family of his own, just because he wasn't wearing a helmet. Don't be the person who thinks they're too cool to wear a helmet, and don't be the person lying on the ground and your friend has to call your parents and tell them what happened. It's just not worth it. If you won't wear a helmet for yourself, wear one for Joseph.